Good morning, friends, and happy Monday. I have my Baby Yoda shirt on for May the 4th be with you today. I'm doing a virtual 5K later, so I'm going to do some walking and some running for 3.15 miles to get my medal. But I'm here this morning to read you chapter 29 of our book. So let's dig in. Malevolent is a fair queen, Philip said, after a hesitant look at the wolf. A distant relative of Merryweather, though that could be the only thing they have in common. The stories I have heard of Malevolent's horrific deeds. He shook his head sadly. Still, if she is the only one who can save Merryweather, then to her we shall go. Wait a second, May said. There are evil fairies? That doesn't seem right. She reached up to her head and patted the still grieving fairy sympathetically. It is not right, Philip agreed, but let us hope that the rumors of her wickedness are just that. The wolf laughed, a sound like gravel rubbing against meaner gravel. The creature is as evil as they come, he said. She betrayed your grandmother, Princess, turning on her in her hour of need. She's most likely the reason your grandmother fled in the first place. May's eyes went dead. What did the fairy queen do? She asked the wolf. The animal just growled in response, shook his head, then turned and padded away. May and Jack turned to Philip with a questioning look. I do not know to what the Wolf King refers, the prince said, but I will tell you that I know of Malevolent. As you know, Merryweather watched over me for a great many years. During that time, I heard stories about the other fairy queens, often told to me by candlelight as I drifted off to sleep. However, there was one of her kind that she would not speak of, no matter how much I begged. A fairy queen of perfect features, every bit as cruel as she was beautiful. I knew girls like that, May said. I'd trip them in the halls sometimes. Philip paused, threw her an odd look, then continued. I learned about Malevolent from others, however. Stories of her vanity, her evil deeds. They say only one person has ever come close to matching her, and that's the Wicked Queen. Perfect, Jack said. We could use a few more all-powerful enemies. Wouldn't want to get bored. I am afraid there is more bad news, the prince said, looking a bit embarrassed. Malevolent, she despises my family in particular. The following events happened when I was but a baby, so I learned the details later. A neighboring kingdom of mine had just been gifted by the birth of the baby daughter. Seeking to unite our kingdoms, my father betrothed me to this girl. Betrothed, May repeated in surprise. It means engaged, Jack said, grinning widely. May glared at him. Arranged marriages are quite common in our region, Princess, Philip said, frowning disapprovingly at them both. This royal family asked for the blessings of all the fairy queens at the birth of their children, hoping that each child would receive gifts beyond any that nature might bestow. However, at the birth of the king's first daughter, he erred, asking for the blessing of all the fairy queens except one. I think I see where this is going, May said, and Jack nodded in agreement. This sort of thing happens so often you'd think people would learn. Yes, Philip said, Malevolent, enraged at what she perceived as to be a lack of respect, stormed the castle during the baby's celebration, then cursed the child to die the day the baby girl turned 15 by pricking her finger on a spindle. Ooh, I know where this is going. Sleeping Beauty. Nothing good ever comes from sewing, May said, shaking her head sympathetically. Indeed, Philip agreed. Still, Merryweather had yet to bless the child, and was able to transform Malevolent's curse from one of death to an eternal sleep instead. Meanwhile, the king attacked Malevolent for cursing his child, which enraged the fairy queen even more. Just as Malevolent was about to destroy the entire kingdom, Merryweather blocked Malevolent's spell. The two began a great battle that ended with Malevolent holding the upper hand over Merryweather. Before she could strike the final blow, however, my father stepped in. Brave guy, Jack murmured. Philip smiled. You've no idea, friend Jack. My father struck Malevolent over the head with a spinning wheel, of all things, a gift for the king's daughter. The distraction gave Merryweather time to banish Malevolent from the castle. It was then that Merryweather vowed to watch over my father's family in thanks, promising to someday return the favor. So what happened to the baby girl, May asked. No one knows, Philip admitted. The good fairy queens consulted with the king and my father, then disappeared with the child. No one has seen her since. We assume she's being protected from Malevolent, hidden away from spindles and curses. Sleeping babies aside, it sounds like Malevolent wouldn't be too thrilled with you just showing up, Jack said. Or with helping Merryweather, for that matter. But why would Merryweather have given you Malevolent's name then? It sounds like she's almost the worst person we could ask for help. Philip shrugged. That I do not know, he said. Perhaps Malevolent is the only one with enough power to save Merryweather. Maybe, Jack said. First we have to find her, though. Do not worry, Philip said. All children in my kingdom know of the Fairy Queen's castle. It sits atop an island in the sky on the eastern shore, formed of lava and maliciousness. Parents told us stories to scare us into eating our vegetables. Vegetables can be scary, May said, frowning. This castle, though, sounds pretty much par for the course for us, so I guess we know where we're going next. But how do we get there, Jack asked. We don't have time to trek across the world, not with Snow White most likely being... He stopped and glanced at May. Being held prisoner, he stammered. She needs to be rescued now. We passed the river on the way here, May suggested. If the castle's on the shore, maybe we could build a boat or something, float down the river to the ocean? Philip and Jack just stared at her. What? She said, raising an eyebrow. You two aren't afraid of water, are you? She smiled mockingly at them. Afraid of water, Jack said. No, afraid of the things that live in the water? Terrified. What? May said. Like fish? On the bottom half, yes, Jack said with a shudder. Princess, Philip said, stepping between them. Jack is right. Traveling by water would be suicide. He was right. After all, giants, witches, and genies were one thing, but mermen, those things were something else entirely. Worry not, children, the wolf said. I know the location of Malevolent's castle, and I can carry you through once more. I'm healed enough for that. The animal smiled, showing far too many teeth. I can even protect you from the fishmen, if that is your worry. Mermaids? May asked incredulously. You're afraid of mermaids? Mermen, Jack corrected. No one's seen a mermaid in like 50 years. Since that day, the mermen have been hunting down anything that goes within 5 feet of the water's edge. I know people who won't even go outside of it if it rains. I give up, May said. I'm just going to have to see one, I guess. The wolf smiled again. By the time you saw one, it would be far too late. Now, are we finally ready to run? We'll have to see what happens next. Bye, guys.